On this episode of the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, we're going to talk about how to add conflict to your novel. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I am Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance. Oh,
I'm
Tina,
Christina Catane, and I'm on mute.
somehow my mic isn't working. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's because when I went to go get my water, I dropped my headphones on the ground.
Oh, no.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write Christian fiction.
And I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
And good morning to everybody who is listening to us as a podcast. I guess it could be the middle of the night, but maybe I shouldn't say good morning. But good morning to our live chatters here. We already have Piper in our chat. Good morning, Piper Dow. Purpose Behind the Pen is here as well. Good morning to you. Our friend Jason is here. Jason Marsh. Good morning, Jason. If you are listening to this as a podcast and you've never joined us live, please come on over some Friday morning. We are always here every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and we have a great group of people that just come and join us, including Catherine Carroll. Good morning, Catherine, who was on our show recently. We love Catherine. And then KM Grace says good morning. I think KM is new, or is it she just new to me? Good morning, KM. So we like to start every episode with what we call our What's Up. It is a time for us to share with each other with our what's been going on since we saw each other last Friday. So Jamie, why don't you start with us? What's up with you?
I don't know. I feel like this might be a repeat, but I am getting so excited because my bestie is traveling from Michigan, and she's bringing her daughter and her daughter's friends for like a little spring break getaway. I'm so happy to be able to host them. I am in the process of taking my office stuff out of the room I use for my office and making sure that it's suited up nice for a couple of, I want to say teenage girls, but they're not anymore. They're young adults to come and have a place to crash while they go and hit the beaches or sightsee or whatever they want to do for the time that they're here. And I get to hug my bestie, and we get to dish tea in real life instead of on the phone. You know how fun that is.
Yes,
and
that's awesome.
Hopefully have some adventures together. And the girls and I might play some pickleball. Like, I'm just really looking forward to a great visit. And no offense, but I hope the weather up there is super lousy while they're here. Because I know it's starting to kind of get nice up there. And the nice weather is really the big draw for people to come down here. I mean, aside from my sparkling personality, of course. But anyway.
My girls just said the other day.
It's supposed to be 60 on Tuesday here.
Ooh.
Nice. My girls and I just said the other day, they're like, why don't we ever go visit Miss Jamie in Florida? And I'm like, I don't know. Oh, because we don't have a car. But I'm on. Yeah. So, well, I'll move into mine real quick. Sorry that
that's all right.
We did get a car. That's the good news. We're still hunting for a car for me, so more of a family vehicle. And when that happens, I would love to come down and see my friend Jamie and hang out with her. It'd be so great. But in other news, so we got the car. What was I going to talk about? I had another thing I was going to. Oh, okay. So everything, when it rains, it pours, right? So y'all know that I've had tech issues, computer issues, and I am currently using right now the oldest working computer in our house. And it's doing okay. It's fine. But it started to act up today. So I'm a little nervous about how the rest of the podcast is going to go. But this week I got really motivated. You guys all know, I've been through a total, lots of things going on, right? And the past few years with losing people and whatnot. And it has really affected my creativity. And I'm just really kind of hanging on by a thread, not trying to walk away from my career, just hanging on. And this week I just felt like it's time. And I got back in there, and and as I get all excited, I'm using this computer. So I'm starting to work on some, and back of the book blurb. I got all that stuff done. all the back of the book stuff, except for I started working on the blurb.
Wow.
Yes, I'm so excited. It was like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, why couldn't I do this before? Like, why couldn't I do that? It was because there was like this total wall block, right? So then I'm like, I can do the back of the book blurb, and then I can do the layout of the cover. And then all of a sudden I realize I can't do the layout of the cover because the computer
Oh.
that I had is the computer that I had Photoshop on. And this computer, there's no
Mm.
way it's going to be able to power
No.
Photoshop.
Right.
So now I'm at a standstill again, and I'm kind of sad about it because I also got news from my brother-in-law who had taken my computer. That's what he does for a living. He's a computer guy. And there's no saving like anything. Everything is lost on my laptop,
Oh.
Aw.
including my cover that I had already done. The one that I posted. I am literally starting from scratch with the cover. And
Did
so
you do it in Photoshop? Because sometimes you can sign into Photoshop on another computer and it'll be in the system.
yeah, because that would be really smart if I did that, right? I started doing that at a certain point, but not at the very beginning when I started doing Photoshop because I didn't realize I
no.
could do that. I was saving to my laptop, and I'm not sure. But guess what? I have to get another computer and put Photoshop on it in order to see if it's there saved. So be praying for me. I know that this is a little thing. I can do another cover. It's all fine. But it's just like, gosh, I just feel like Satan just won't leave me alone. I feel like I got to a point where I'm like, I was past it. I was at a point where like there was a breakthrough and I could just like the creativity was back and I could just do it to get this book out. And then it's like, no, Jen, you can't. But again, like I've always prayed, always in God's timing, right? There's a reason. So,
You could always come over for a play date once you get a car
and
and
log
use
into
my
your photo.
laptop and log into Photoshop on mine and into your Photoshop and see if it's in there.
I actually have Photoshop on my church where I work for my church very, very part-time. And I've been working from home for the past few weeks because of the car situation. So once I get in there, I could probably log in there too. So yeah, but that's my what's up. But there's more chat. I'm sorry. I'm going to move over to the chat really quick. Enough about me. Elise Seal is here as well. Good morning,
Hi,
Elise.
Elise.
And KM says that she listens regularly, but this is her first time live. So welcome. Kim. We're so glad to have you here. Catherine's what's up? She says that instead of actually writing, she's been playing with the things Notebook LM can do for my books. Okay. Now, I don't mean to be more about me, but I have something to say about that. Can I say something really quick about that?
Yes.
So that was part of, I think, what got me motivated this week is Cindy Dow had sent me information. Piper Dow, sorry, had sent me information about Notebook LM. And so I was playing around with it and I uploaded the entire manuscript into a notebook. And it will produce like a little kind of synopsis, but it also, the fun thing, everyone needs to do this just because it's so fun. It gives you an audio, not synopsis, but like an audio, it's a conversation. It sounds like a podcast. Like it sounds like two people discussing your novel. And it sounds so real. It's crazy. And they got a lot of stuff right. There was some stuff not right because it's AI. So they're not gonna get everything right. But the best part is, I don't know how this happened, but somehow when it uploaded, it thought the title of the novel was The History of the Peloponnesian War. So, which is weird, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not publishing from here. So, but the podcast at the end, they spend like a whole 5 minutes discussing how deep that title is for my book about Sarah. And like it goes in and tries to find these nuances in the story that correlate with ancient Greek history.
Wow.
And I was laughing so hard that I started messaging Piper and telling her what was happening. It was so funny. I was laughing out loud. My husband I was like listening on my phone. He's like, what are you doing over there? It was so great. But anyway, worth going over there to notebooklm.google.com. There's some fun stuff. It'll help you. There's lots of things. I haven't even scratched the surface of the things that it will do with your book. So
it sounds inspiring because it's one of the things you fantasize about is that enough people would read your book that it would end up being discussed on a podcast, right?
Yes.
Like it's fun. That sounds very inspiring.
My husband, he listened to it too. And he's like, the thing that he got out of it, because he's not read the book, he's like, the things that you feel like they got wrong, Jen, you could look at it and say, did I not write that well enough?
Mm.
You know, so like it's too late for this book. And we've gone over it enough and I've edited enough. I have confidence that it's the AI's fault. That but when you're in the earlier stages, it may be something that the AI picks out like they didn't realize. Like the AI did not realize it was a historical. It was super obvious the way they talked about the
Mm.
college and things like that. But
Mhm.
it might kind of like show you some things that maybe you should go back in and tweak. So I don't know. It's a great idea, I think.
Fun.
Purpose Behind the Pen says her what's up is book 19 is almost in final countdown mode. That's awesome.
Wow. Amazing.
Piper says, what's up? Solidly writing in my second act. Good for you. That's
Hooray!
awesome. KM says that her what's up. I assume it's her. I guess I shouldn't make that assumption. KM says, almost done with my second draft.
Second draft.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job.
Awesome.
So yeah,
I
lots of
really
other
want to know
chat.
what Purpose Behind the Pen is talking about. She said 7 years ago, I came up with the 1,000,000,000-word journey, which allows me to write 1 chapter a day in my work in progress and 1 page a day in my lineup.
1,000,000,000 words.
I'm like really
Wow.
intrigued by what that even is.
Yeah, wow. That is cool. Christy and Sadie are here in our chat as well. Good morning to you too.
Hello, good morning.
Speaking of Notebook LM, Catherine says the podcast, exclamation point. So much fun. The only thing I didn't like is them giving it a title. I agree. Even though they thought the title was the history of the Peloponnesian War, they had given me the title Redeeming Love, which is already a title for a novel. So that was kind of weird. But anyways, yeah. So all right, Tina, what's up with you?
Well, I would like to talk about the fact that next week on Tuesday, for those of you who are in our shenanigans level on the Patreon, is the live Q&A. So if you want to have an hour and a half to just ask us any question you want, it's $5 a month. Join the shenanigans level. It's kind of rare anyone actually has any questions. There's just a lot of shenanigans, and we have a lot of fun.
Actually, I was thinking about bringing my blurb and presenting it to all of our shenanigans level and get feedback from them and let them.
Oh, good idea.
Because like, honestly, sometimes they don't have quite, but oh my gosh, there is a treasure trove of good advice in our chat, in our Patreon, in our Facebook group. We are blessed to have this community. So
we do usually end up talking about writing. It's just that
we do. Yeah.
It's not a real question heavy.
Okay.
Even though it's a Q&A. So anyway, and
then
next Friday on the podcast, my book coach, Elise, she's in the chat actually, is coming on the show to talk to us from a book coach's perspective. So that's going to be really exciting.
So exciting.
I'm excited about next week.
Me too. I am really looking forward to that episode. Christy says that next Tuesday is Sadie's birthday. She will be 11.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Happy birthday.
I don't know if you guys are in our Patreon, but we could definitely celebrate that. So anyway, very exciting.
I miss my kids when they were that age.
I know.
I wish I could.
My middle is about to turn 16. My Chloe. Can you guys even believe that? Like what?
No.
They should still be little, in my opinion, but
my littlest is about to turn 22.
Oh, golly, no way.
Wow.
No. Oh, my word.
In August.
Golly. Yeah, when we started this podcast, my baby was what, in second grade, first grade?
Yeah.
She's going to be a high schooler next year.
Had the audacity to keep growing after we told them to stop it.
I know. My one that's turning 16 spent a good full 2 years of her life saying that she didn't want to grow up and that she was never moving out of the house. She wanted to live with mommy forever.
Aww.
She's not holding to that promise. She's already told me that.
My youngest has a very analytical brain. And he was about 7 and he looked at me and he said, if I don't grow up, who's going to take care of me when you die? And I was like, okay, you can grow up.
I thought he was going to say, who's going to take care of you? That'd have been even sweeter.
I know, right? Yeah.
You guys, it is Catherine's birthday today. She says today is her birthday. Do we still have that birthday thing? It was for Jamie's, though.
I
It'll
would
say
sing,
Jamie,
but
but
I'm going to give you a birthday present.
It's your birthday, yes it is your birthday, it's your birthday, yes it is your birthday, it's your birthday, yes it is your birthday. We are super psyched. You're 1 year old.
it said Jamie, but we mean it for you, Catherine. So happy birthday. Sorry, Tina. I didn't know that I was going to click it. It went too fast.
It's fine.
Oh man.
I didn't have anything else to say anyway. I'm done. with
I
my
love
what's
our
up.
I love our community. Catherine says, "Can I sponsor Christy and Sadie to join us on Tuesday so that we can sing to her?" Aw.
Aww.
I'm sure
You'll
there's
have
a
to-
way we could figure that out.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. That was so sweet. I love our community so much. Like, I better move on before I get too emotional. Like, seriously, like I said, you know what we've all been through the past few years. It's just been kind of crazy for all of us, and you guys have been here for us, and just love you guys.
Yeah.
And you're here for each other.
It's really been an anchor for me
Mhm.
to have this podcast. I really appreciate everybody.
Yeah. It's your birthday. Okay. All right.
No.
Today's
You
topic.
can't sing that one.
That one is legal. We can sing that one. We don't have to pay any rights for that one. So, all right. Today's topic is the second part in a 2-part series that we started last week about conflict. Now, we have talked about conflict in the past. We have an episode where we talked about hurting your characters because Rhonda never wanted to hurt her characters. So we had a full episode about it. And we've laughed about it in the past because of that. But really, it is something that is important. And if you didn't catch last week's episode, you're going to want to go back and watch it, because in that episode, we talk about why. Why do you need to have conflict in your story? But today is more of what we like to call the meat and potatoes. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you put conflict in your story. It's not just like, it's not only physical. It could be physical things and fighting and war and like that, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is more internal and more subtle than that. It's like the space between what your character wants and the obstacles to overcome it. That's what we're talking about with that. So, what was that quote from Brandon Sanderson? That
He said that the purpose of plot is conflict.
See, that's awesome. I absolutely, like, you think about that. Like, why do you have a plot? Otherwise, you're just telling a story. But to have an actual plot, like the whole purpose of that is for the conflict.
Do you know
And
what this reminds me?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This reminds me of the conversation that we've had about disasters in romance, because you hear the word disaster and immediately you think something like earthquake. I mean, at least I do. And so sometimes I think you hear this word conflict and it can be much smaller than you would originally think, right? Like, just like a disaster doesn't have to be something that, is a worldwide or, county-wide event. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I've heard it simplistically put to give your main character a deep desire and then throw as many obstacles in their way as you can
Mm-hmm.
to keep
Yeah.
them from getting it.
It's very true. And you can have more than one kind of conflict. So, all right. So another side note. I'm full of side notes today. So I've been reading a lot recently. I go through stages, and I feel like maybe that's another reason why I'm feeling motivated again, is because I'm reading and I'm not happy with what I'm reading. So it's like I feel like I need to get my book out there. But I read one author, a few of her books, honestly, because she was hitting the charts at Amazon, which, if you write for any length of time, you kind of know it's really because of advertising. It really isn't much more than that. But I read, and their conflict in this one book especially was lame. I don't know how else to put it, but if they so here's I'm gonna give you a
I'm
synopsis.
assuming the person themselves weren't lame. That was
No, and I'm never gonna ever go and put this in a review or anything, because I don't do that. I know how hard it is to write a book. I am never going to give a bad review of a book unless I feel like it is AI written and the person is not genuine. That's the only reason I might do that. But this, I do not feel that way. The conflict, they're pulling each other, and like, because oh no, I don't want to fall in love, and then they go on a picnic and they get closer and closer, and then at the end of the picnic, but I'm not going to fall in love. And then the next conflict ended up with a picnic. They were constantly going on picnics and getting closer. And at the end of the picnic, it was like, no, but I don't want to fall in love. And I was just like, it was.
And why are
driving me
you going
crazy.
on picnics?
Right. And that was the only conflict. Like that, the only conflict was I don't want to fall in love, but I'm falling in love. Right. And
Mm.
then this other author, much more well-known author, very well written. And I got to the very end and it was almost the same story, is that like, I felt like they just, when it came to the outlining of it, they just didn't have another way to pull their characters apart. Does that make sense? So we've talked in the past about plotting, and that I call them disasters. You can call them plot points. But like, I feel like when they got to like the end of the second act going into the third, which would be like your, not quite the climax, but kind of in that area. Okay. It went back to almost the same exact thing that happened in the middle of the story, but with just different characters. I don't know how to I'm not going to say who the author is or anything like that. But for me as a reader, that was not satisfying because I felt like we already dealt with this. Right. Does that make sense? Like I, as a reader, wanted something that felt more genuine. I feel like as a real person, like I'm not going to let that happen again because it just happened. Like, so anyway, all of that to say, conflict has been in my mind a lot the past couple of weeks, not just because we're having the episode, but because, so like Tina said, we're going to start number 1. Okay. Like let's go to we got to go to the comments. Elise says, yes, the conflict has to be meaningful too. Agreed. And Catherine says, oh my gosh, lame conflicts are the worst. They go on dates and even kiss, but they don't want to fall in love. Yes. Yeah. Catherine, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe we've read the same books. So,
yeah.
Okay. So we're going to talk today about ways to add conflict to make your story better so you don't make me mad when I read your book. Okay. Number 1.
Because it's all about Jennifer.
It's all hello.
Well, Jennifer is your target audience, possibly. I mean, any reader is. And we just want your book to hit all the right notes for sure.
And I have to say,
exactly.
like, once I got done with all the character work with my book coach, like a lot of the work we did was about conflict.
After reading these books and like you and I having conversations, I think that makes absolute and total sense. Because when you think about it, so all these things I'm complaining about, and I say it made me mad. It didn't make me mad because these two authors, you can tell, put a ton of work into these books. If they would have spent a little more time perfecting their conflict, these books would have been like chef's kiss. Honestly, the characters were well-rounded. The writing was good. The editing was excellent. It was just the only problem was the conflict in this one. So, okay. Moving on. Number 1, develop strong character goals and obstacles. What do we mean by that?
Well, their goals is what they want, like I said earlier, and the obstacles is what keeps them from getting what they want.
And Tina, when we were plotting these episodes, Tina got Jennifer and I all quiet because she was like, the conflict could be, your character is in a room and needs to open the door. And then she was talking about how, like, was it per scene or per chapter, Tina? You were saying there had to be some kind of a conflict. And we were like, what? How? And then when you pointed out that it could be something like you want to go from room A to room B, to frame that as a conflict felt very strange. But it is helpful in a way. Because if you can imagine where is the conflict, and it can be something as simple as they want to get from room A to room B, that's a very helpful way to think about it.
Right, because if you think about it, if you're reading a scene and there's no conflict and there's nothing to solve by the end of the scene, like what is it there for?
And
how does it move the story forward? Yeah.
And we've talked in the past too, that if you're writing a scene, like especially when you're editing your book, if the scene does not move your story forward, it is unnecessary. I don't care how beautifully you wrote the wildflowers on the side of the mountain. I don't care how great you think that how cheeky the interaction was between your heroine and your hero. If it doesn't move the story forward, it doesn't matter. And I would say that if it's not moving your story forward, it's because there's no conflict in it. So. All right.
And again, conflict can be, he received a letter And even if the letter has good news in it, like it's almost just like stuff that happens. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Yes.
feeling like this word conflict is limiting in some way. And I don't know like a better word, but I'm just sort of saying like you don't have to imagine it as a battle or
I
If
think
you
it's
could think
limiting.
about it as a choice that your character has to make
a choice
to
or
take
decision.
to take one action or another.
Action. Okay,
So
great.
Yeah,
there's a turning point.
I mean, that is a great way of saying it, choices, because you think about like I had to make a lot of choices this week about a car, right? And I know that sounds silly, but it was very stressful for us. It was stressful for
Mm.
our marriage. If I'm gonna be completely transparent. The ladies know, like, because they're my friends and I'm very transparent with them. But that the choices decide, like, that's your conflict. Like, which way am I gonna go? That could for sure
Mhm.
be it. So in our notes, we have talked about like a hero grappling with the guilt or past mistake. So like again, it's an internal one thing, right? It's choosing that, like, am I going to stay guilty or am I going to move forward in life? Or am
Mm.
I going to choose this
Mhm.
girl or this girl? If it's a, am I going to choose to fight to save my, my post-apocalyptic little town that I live in, or am I going to like shrink back and let the bad guys take over? Like there's internal, there's external, but there's like at the internal, just even trying to decide, am I going to leave my village or am I going to stay in my little hobbit hole? Like there's
Right.
conflict right there.
So yeah, I feel like
I think I moved
we were.
forward really fast. Sorry, guys.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they naturally flow into one another
Right.
because we started out talking about developing strong character goals and obstacles, and that felt like very much in their physical environment, right? Like for
Right.
example, you want to go from room A to room B, but there's you've rearranged the furniture and now the refrigerator is blocking whatever. But
Right.
then you get to like the internal struggle that you were mentioning, Jen, about do I summon up the courage to do what needs to be done, or do I choose peace and jet out of here into the next town, right?
Right.
So,
And that's where character flaws come in, because your internal conflict is them grappling with their character flaws or their weaknesses and trying to become better. And that's where you get a character arc. And so if you have these internal conflicts and the external conflicts at the same time, you have a much deeper, richer story.
can we go back to, but I don't want to fall in love? Because that would be considered like an internal conflict. So
Yes.
let's sort of examine. I don't know these books. You're like, I'm hearing about this first thing right now.
Right.
The internal conflict of I don't want to fall in love. Is this explored in any way of like, was there history? Like, could you do that
Right.
better? I don't know. I'm asking like, would you say that if they like what development in the internal conflict would have made it feel better, Jen, if anything?
I think that's a really great point. I think that this goes back to a whole nother other episodes we've done, but I think that you need to know your characters, right? I think to
Mm,
have really good conflict, you have to know your characters inside out, and that also means their history. So
mm,
if you want to stay, in my opinion, if you want to stay within the internal conflict area and you don't have wars battling, because it's a romance. I read romance and I write romance, and there's not a whole lot of actual physical wars battling, though I do have
right.
physicality and I have dangers in my books. If you want to stay just in that realm, then you have to keep getting deeper and deeper into your character's past and the things that are like weighing them down, and the root reasons to why they're the goal that they have. Why do they have that goal? Because this character in particular, there's both of them had basically the same goal, not to fall in love. But why? Why is that? And if you keep getting into the layers, then the conflicts that they're going to experience are going to be different, right? Like, I don't want to fall in love because I was hurt by my first girlfriend. And then the next time you go deeper and you realize, well, I was hurt by my girlfriend because she left because I wasn't willing to show her like
Do the
my deep
dishes.
or even
Sorry.
or even show her what was deep inside of me. I kept a part of my heart to myself, and she wouldn't accept that. And then you go even deeper to the next one, you realize that what I don't want to show is that I was abused as a child. You see what I'm saying? But if you just keep at the surface of like, I don't want to fall in love because my heart was hurt once, you're not, first of all, your story isn't gonna be rich enough, and you don't have enough conflict. There just isn't enough there. So you can stay within the same, that one conflict, but you have to keep going deeper in the layers of your character.
And
Is
I
that
would say
what's
too, why
missing
are they
for
going
you?
on these picnics? Are they just going on picnics to go on picnics? Or like did something happen where they have to pretend that they're dating and they're going on these picnics because other people are watching? Or like I would put them in a situation where
Yeah.
maybe they don't even like each other, but they're like forced proximity. Like there has to be something more than just going on picnics. Even if you go deep into this, I was abused as a child, therefore I
Yes.
hold myself back, therefore my girlfriend left me.
So with this particular story, I think it's they either just didn't know enough of the history to find out what characters could do back then. Like what are things that they
Mm.
could do to keep themselves busy or whatever. I think that was part of the problem. I feel like there wasn't enough of the story there. But I think what you're saying goes in very naturally into our number 3, which is create tension between characters. I think that
Mhm.
there wasn't enough tension and throwing them into those situations. Like a picnic once, that's fine. But if you're going to do a picnic again, why? Why do they keep alive? If they know that like that's danger zone for them because they get too close to each other, why do you keep doing it then? Right. So what do we mean by create tension? What is creating tension between characters?
Well, there's so many
Well,
different ways to do it. It could be a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It could be like the one thing I'm trying to work on right now in my work in progress is attitudes. My one character, female, was raised kind of just wild in the woods without any real parental values or anything. And the
Mm-hmm.
other was raised in a village where the Old Testament law was king and her father was the high priest. So she's coming from like an almost legalistic, you better be good. And how do their attitudes towards each other
Mm-hmm.
create tension between them when they have to interact with each other and help each other and things like that. So
Right.
that's
When
what
well,
I'm
and Jen
writing,
has
no, go ahead, Jamie.
well, a famous in my mind story that has yet to be published is the Marnie stories that Jen has written
No.
for this podcast. And in this scenario, Marnie is an employee, and then the male character is her boss. And so there is tension there from that relationship that is sort of handed to you. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a power dynamic that is different, if you have role expectations that are different, those you can lean into those relationships and maybe write a bit about that dynamic to increase the tension, correct? So it's my first day on
Mm-hmm.
the job. Am I wearing an outfit that's appropriate for the workplace? Is anybody going to see that I don't carry a designer bag? And lean in to the naturally provided for you tension of the relationship dynamic.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and I would argue with Marnie, there's also like attitude and expectations going on. Like she has expectations of what this rich boss is like.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
she has this judgment. She's calling him the boss, like not calling him by his name. And she has this idea in her head of what he's like, but she
Right.
doesn't really know him yet.
And
Perfect.
and those characters are all sprinted, but like I do when I write, and of course this is romance, but this is the world that I write from. But when I write a character, when I figure out what is the motivation for my female character, what is it she's trying to get, when I create the man that's going to follow, I try to find out what is the exact opposite of that. What is it that she thinks she wants, and what is the thing over here that she would not like, that would maybe like conflict with that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where you get the conflict that makes the story so good. And sometimes I will look at people like in my life that I just don't like. Like, I don't, being completely like honest, like, or people that like have really got under my skin. And I've tried writing characters, them as a character, not like them in particular, but the things that like maybe like have not worked out for me to be friends with that person. And then try to write, because now there's some real conflict that I have like actually experienced, and make it feel like it's actually real. Right. So there's a great little test for you to try to write conflict is write two characters. One of them you don't like, but you got to make them likable with your character and work that relationship out. So, okay. So that was number 3. Number 4, use external forces. What do we mean by use external forces?
Well, before I give my answer to that, I just want to encourage everybody to read back through our chat. Oh my word.
Yeah,
you all have so much gold in there that we just cannot cover with our limited time. But we want to introduce elements that are beyond the character's control. Natural disasters, Tina is great with that. Societal pressures, which I'm recognizing in my work, plays a really big role. There are anything that really will heighten the conflict and make your characters push them into action, basically, like something that happens that they're not in control of. And I think this is especially effective when you're being very introspective. For most of the book, it's this, but I don't want to fall in love. And then suddenly, kablamo, something super unexpected happens. Yes. And now suddenly it's like, now
you are the picnic.
Yes. And then you can't betray your reader by having your character act out of character for them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they can't suddenly become somebody who will outwit the zombies if they've been duller than a butter knife for the whole rest of the book, right?
Right.
So anyway, that's what we mean by using an external force.
Right. All right, we are running behind, so we're gonna go a little bit faster through these. And again, I am sorry that I just glanced back through it, and man, there's some good stuff there.
Yes, there really is.
Listeners, I love you, and I'm so sorry that I haven't been looking over there. Like, I guess got into the conversation between my friends and forgot.
But it's so much, Tina.
It's so
Jenny,
good.
so much, yeah.
Yeah, it would take forever to read it.
Okay, but it's good stuff, and I see it and I recognize all of that. I want you guys to all know that. All right, number 5, raise the stakes. What do we mean by raise the stakes?
Hold your ribeye in the air.
you have something that happens at like your quarter of the book point, and the thing that happens at the halfway point has to be worse. You have to have rising stakes.
Not another picnic.
Worse, and then it gets worse, and then it gets worse.
Not another picnic.
Not another picnic.
Well, and then I do the outcome. Yeah.
I do like what Catherine said. If I can get over here, my computer's being really slow. She said, external, have someone trick them into having a picnic and then send an avalanche to force them to stay there. Right? I would have been happy if they would have ended up having to. All right, here's the difference. If they would have ended up having to stay there overnight, and then all of a sudden, like, now they have to get married, otherwise her reputation is destroyed. Now you've changed it. Right? So now they still don't want to fall in love, but now they have to be married. Right? So now this, like, you're raising the stakes, right? Okay, sorry, go ahead. She also says send in the zombies.
If in doubt, send in the zombies.
Right.
Well, and when we say raise the stakes, we're saying that the consequences for a wrong decision are more catastrophic. Like, so what we're basically saying is that you can have decision A or decision B. And if you make the wrong choice, well, you might end up in the same dress as somebody else at the prom. Instead, we have decision A versus decision B, and someone's life is imperiled if you choose the wrong decision, right? Like, we're saying that the consequence becomes catastrophically greater as time goes on. So, and it's
zombies only eat girls in red dresses. That's
correct. Very good. Well, here's the thing. If the consequence is always, oh no, I might fall in love, that is not raising the stakes.
Agreed.
So it has to be like something. That's why it has to be overcoming whatever reason you don't want to fall in love. Like Jen said, digging deeper into what is in the past and what is making that a possibly horrific outcome, right?
Yes, agreed. All right, number 6, add time pressure. This is one I think people forget about a lot. Like, a ticking clock intensifies the conflict, right? It forces you to make a decision. right? So like if you are like don't want to fall in love, but all of a sudden your dad is coming into town and is going to force you to go back east if he finds that you're not married yet, right?
Yeah,
Now it's like it's
yeah.
just time pressure. He's going to be here any day now, right? So I mean that's like in a romance, but like in a post-apocalyptic or in a zombie, like it's a totally different thing too, right? Like you
Right.
got to get
And the most obvious example is in like a thriller where there's actually a ticking time bomb
yes,
Right.
right.
And they
that
flash
you have
that
to,
timer, and it's like,
and you know the person's there with their little clippers and they got to cut the right wire and
Right. In Star
no,
Wars, right before, like they're like, we don't have time. We missed it. We got to all pull out of here. And Luke Skywalker's like, no, I think I can do it. And he flies back in, like, but no, it's too late. And he ends up using the Force and he destroys, the what's it
Death
called? Oh my
Star.
god. Thank you,
spoiler.
the Death Star. I went blank all of a sudden. Say like there's this time, like you're on the edge of your seat, like, no, there's not time. And so like there's clearly like that kind of stuff. But then there also is like there could be like things too, like you're about to have a baby, right? Like that's a ticking time bomb too. There's different ways of doing it, but definitely time pressure makes a difference.
For sure.
And finally, and this is going to be my mantra to people that write my genre, keep the conflict evolving. It
I don't
shouldn't
want to
be
fall in
static.
love.
Yeah,
I don't want to fall in love.
it's got to shift and grow throughout the story. Like Tina said, it has to get more, like the conflict has to increase at each of the plot points or the danger, the danger zones. It has to.
And
Otherwise,
this feels like, yes, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It feels like all of these other things kind of funnel down into this piece of advice, right? Like
Agreed.
if you said, I'm going to keep character or conflict evolving, how? Well, I'm going to go steps 1 through 5, and that is going to keep my conflict evolving.
Exactly. And I really feel like I need to say something to you, just in case that author is watching this, or you're watching this and you're like, am I that author? I mean all love. Like I do not mean this any sort of like I'm better than you or you shouldn't be writing. It's the exact opposite. There is plenty of room for all of us in this sphere. There is plenty of room for all of us to be successful writers. I want you to be successful. And that's why I get like all up in flames about this kind of stuff, because everything else about these 2 books was great, but the conflict, and then that makes it fall flat. And don't do that. You've put so much effort into this book. Like get it across the finish line the best it can be.
And I have to say that there are so many positives about self-publishing, but one of the negatives is sometimes you can't see the problems in your own work.
Mm.
And if you can't afford an editor or a developmental editor or somebody like that, it can be hard to see those things, especially when you've been writing for 80,000 words and your brain is just like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
And those books are already out there. They're already published and they're doing fine. They're selling. But the next book you write can be better. And then the next book after that can be better. That's how I am.
Exactly.
My next book's going to be better. And the book after that's going to be even better. And so that's why we talk about these kind of things. One more thing from KR. Good morning, KR. She says, whoops, wrong one. Oh, our thing's just like here. It keeps refreshing. She says, Luke destroying the Death Star is kind of an example of using a character flaw positively. He only goes back in because he's an impulsive 19-year-old with no war experience. I love that.
Awesome.
That is, yes, use the flaws. Yes, love that. That's really good.
We might need to revisit character flaws, ladies. It's been a while since we talked about them. And I think that we might have some more to say about that. Thank you for bringing that up, KR.
Yeah. All right. If you have any questions or please come back and read our chat for this episode.
Please read it. Oh,
YouTube.
my word.
But also come to our Facebook group. And if you want to ask more questions or you have more comments to make, let's start a thread over there about conflict, because we have a lot of great people over there that are very helpful too, and a great, great active community over there. So, but it's time for us to move on to our favorite part of the episode, the feeding of the backs. This is where every week we spend 15 minutes writing on the same prompt. We don't edit. We don't even look at them again until we come on here. And then we are so confident of our writing skills that we share them live to the world.
Yeah.
Or we're just crazy. So Jamie, speaking of crazy, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
start for us and tell us what was this week's prompt and share what you wrote.
Okay, this week we had a sentence prompt and it was, my mind is blank. And here is what I wrote. My mind is blank and my page is blank, and everything hinges on me creating the perfect cover letter to apply for this perfect role. I wonder if I could use AI to help with this. Don't even think about it, a voice warns from somewhere deep inside. The recruiter will know you used AI. First of all, I tell the voice, I don't know if it will be a recruiter or a hiring manager or what who will review this letter. Secondly, how on earth could they possibly know? I have already opened the AI page and am composing a prompt as I argue with myself. The naysayer has been properly stifled, but now I have self-doubt rearing up. You know you're not qualified for the role. There isn't a thing AI can do to cover that up. Oh, really? I scoff as I press the generate button and glance at the opening sentence. It's perfect. Too perfect. No way I can use it. I mean, I'm a good writer and I can craft a mean cover letter. So what are you doing here on this AI site? Anyway, I like this bit here about how my skills align with the company's mission and vision. Yeah, you've got one sentence down. Great job. It's a start. Several hours and multiple revisions later, I don't feel like I've made a bit of progress. I've tried every trick I know to get myself productive. I've silenced social media, taken food breaks, done the dishes, handled other random and mundane tasks to get my mind off this cover letter. But nothing seems to dislodge whatever is blocking me. Hoping for a burst of inspiration, I take a fresh look at the job description and wonder if the Apply Now button is going to take me to a portal on an employment service platform, or if I would be sending this email directly to somebody. I click the button. Couldn't hurt to know, right? I am happily surprised not to be expected to log into Workday or some similar portal. Instead, I am taken to a page on the company website where I read the following instructions for career application. Upload your resume here. There's your usual upload field, and then the following directive. We'd like to get to know a feel for your creativity in a less formal setting. So we'd like you to use our platform to create a video and then send it along to us. The subject is up to you, but please limit the length to 90 seconds or less. Consider this your cover letter.
Oh.
Well, crap, I said. And once again, my mind was blank.
Oh, so good. Jamie, you should write in first person more often. Like I don't know that I've ever heard you write in first person. Go ahead,
I don't know,
Tina.
yeah.
I have to know if this is autobiographical.
I don't know. It's quasi, kind of like how Jen says when she meets people that she doesn't like, she can then get inspiration from it. It's just a scenario I have faced. It's quasi autobiographical, I suppose.
Yeah, it felt very real because my husband recently applied for a job and, he's in the construction trade. So he's a dude, never uses computers. He's very smart. He's very smart, but like never uses computers. And I don't know what he does. Like I know what he does, but like so we literally used AI to help us. Like, and he's like, yeah, that's what I do. And he'd be like, no, that's not. And he would look at that. He's like, no, that's not what I do. But he's like, that's exactly what I do. Like,
Right.
So it was actually very helpful. Like, but that was so funny you doing that. And I'm like, yeah, I use the AI. Everyone else is.
Yeah, to at least get you
Yes.
started.
Yeah. Elise says that she loves the inner. Is this? Oh my gosh, my computer. Where did it go?
Inner
Sorry, guys.
dialogue.
She loves the inner dialogue. KM says,
thanks.
haha, love it, Jamie. Does sound very real. KR says, we have KM and KR. It's awesome.
Yeah.
She says, Jamie, you are a genius. Every single sentence was just like, haha, me. Yes. And the next one was LOL. LOL. Even more me. Yes. So,
my
so
people.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks,
It was
friends.
very relatable.
I love Friday.
I know, me too. This is great. Okay, my turn.
All right, what do you got?
My
Jen?
computer started freaking out while I was writing.
Oh no.
I had to like shut down some of my windows and I was afraid it wasn't gonna. So it's shorter than usual, but I got writing done today. So high five me. I've never missed an episode of like when I'm here, I always write. Like never had. I thought about that. Like every time I'm here, I've written. Isn't that crazy to think about that we've never missed? Like we've
Yeah.
missed episodes, but like when you're here, you've written.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay. Cade's mind was blank. What was he doing here? He tried telling himself that he only wanted what was best for the widow McGuire, but as he stood here under the scrutiny of this leathered cowboy, he didn't have words. The old man's bright eyes bore through him like the old magnifying glass his brother and he used to burn ants when they were little, as if a sunlight light funneled through this man's vision, burning a hole right through Cade's excuses and melted his defenses. Cade felt exposed. Cade held the man's gaze. I don't rightly know, he answered honestly, maybe as honest as he had been since the entire fiasco began with the widow shooing him off her land with her shotgun. And that thought sobered him. Chappie's eyes never wavered as he continued his magnifying probe of Cade. Then slowly, he nodded twice as if he had found some answer Cade didn't know himself. That's the right answer, he said. The right answer? Cade was even more confused because he hadn't really given an answer. But Cade reckoned if it satisfied the man enough for the two of them to move on with the day's work, then who was he to argue? Cade returned to the rhythm of the shovel, lost in the mundane act, while his mind continued to search for an answer. What was he doing here? 3, 2, 1.
Jen,
Nice.
okay, I really, really, really like this. And I want to propose something to you about it. So, you know how Colleen is dealing with storms?
Uh-huh.
What if Kate is dealing with like sunlight exposing bright? So, like, she's dealing with storm and because that felt so like, yes, it's like burning through his defenses, like the burning, right? And so fire and water kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, just a proposal to you. And
Awesome.
and so just those few words was so like the whole experience was very precious. Loved it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I loved it too, and I really want to know what's going on in Chappie's head.
Yeah.
Oh, he knows.
Like, I wish we had a scene from Chappie's point of view so we could like dig into the treasures that he's got going rattling around his brain.
Maybe someday there's a Chappie romance looking back on when he had someone.
Oh, there is a Chappie romance coming.
Oh,
A
I'm
little.
so
It
excited.
won't be his own book, but for sure
okay.
Chappie's gonna get it. You guys are gonna love Chappie. I love him already.
Yeah,
But yeah, he gets a little romance too. So
that's great.
let's see. Christy says, like the magnifying glass they used to burn ants. She says that's not violent at all. They're boys. I mean, come on. They're boys. I mean, I might have done that a time or two myself as a kid. So
We used to pull the legs off of Daddy Longlegs.
oh no. I mean, I'm not a fan. So like I'm not afraid of spiders, but I don't need to touch them. So
I don't know.
the ants, at least you don't have to touch
we-
them. You're just like,
We we pulled the legs off, and then they were just Daddy.
Daddy
Longlegs.
All right, Tina.
The mind of a bored 7-year-old. I don't know.
Oh, and if I have to say goodbye now.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Jamie. We'll see you later.
Bye.
All right, Tina, what'd you write?
So the way that my sprint relates to the sentence is that my mind was blank.
Okay.
I was
Awesome.
like, I got no idea. So I just started writing a description of the springtime, and then the story came out of it. So
That's awesome.
here we go. It was one of those spring days when the sun is shining and the grass has just turned green, but there are still clumps of snow in the shaded areas under trees and along the fence line. The air was cool and crisp, and the windbreaker Robin wore almost kept her warm. She slipped out the back gate, across the ski path, and into the woods. This was her special place, where the low hum of anxiety that lived within her quieted, and it felt like she could really breathe. She made her way along the path, stepping over roots and around bends that were as familiar to her as her pillow on her bed. Birds called out a warning of her presence, and woodland creatures skittered into the underbrush and down their holes. On some days, she would stop and settle in against a tree and wait for the rabbits to poke their ears and whiskers out of the holes, but today she had someplace to be. Robin looked around her at the sound of a twig snapping. Was somebody following her? Was there a bear hidden in the woods, or even worse, a cow moose with a newborn calf? Hurrying on, Robin decided it was better not to know, though she did duck off the trail at one particular bend, moving carefully around the Devil's Club and staying alert of areas of wet moss where her feet would sink into the squishy green mounds. She stopped and listened. If anyone was following her, they wouldn't be able to do it soundlessly, not with all the branches scattered along the forest floor. Satisfied that she was alone, Robin hurried on, scrambling down an incline toward Salmon Run Creek and following it north, being careful not to let her feet slip on the loose stones. Soon she saw the spot where the creek ran between two steep, rocky outcroppings. There, tucked into the place where rocky slope rose to meet the forest, was a small opening. Robin squatted down outside the opening and pulled a package from her bag. It was last night's dinner, wrapped in wax paper. She put it down in front of the opening, speaking softly. "Here you go, boy. Come and get it." Then she moved off several yards and waited for the orphaned wolf pup to emerge.
Ah, so good. I'm so glad that it's
Thanks.
a wolf pup. Okay. So the imagery that you give is awesome. The So I don't know. I'm gonna guess this is not in the world, even though I can tell it's Alaska. It's not in the world that you're writing in because of the windbreaker. That
Right. No,
like
it's
yeah.
more
So
like my childhood and the woods behind my house where I always played, but I wasn't allowed to play in those woods. But
me too. I had one of those too.
but I
It's
built a 5-story tree house in those woods. So obviously my mother wasn't watching.
same. It was the 80s. It was wild times.
Yeah,
That's
there
what
was
they
a
say in
mental
Blue Ridge.
hospital on the other side of the woods, but
Oh.
still, I just ran around wild in the woods.
There was a swamp that we could have probably drowned in ours, but we didn't like think about that. So anyway, that's so weird that we had similar childhoods like that, but it was the 80s. It was wild times. Um,
Yeah,
so like the imagery, like I felt like I was there. And the reason I point out the windbreaker is because you do write Alaskan, like that is your setting, but it's very specific to like being a post-apocalyptic. And you gave enough details for me to know, no, this is not part of that series. Do you see what I'm saying? Like you
yeah,
did really well with the details so that not only was I there, I was exactly where you wanted me to be. You wanted me to be not in post apocalyptic. You wanted me to either be present day or past because of the windbreaker. And so I thought that was really well done.
thanks.
So yeah. Let's see. Piper says, "Aw." I agree. Chrissy says, "Aw, that is amazing." KR says, "Tina, I love the vividness at the beginning. I missed the rest of it because someone came by and I had to do my job for a second." Oh, I didn't know you were working. I love it. I love that you're listening to us at work. That's the best. And Chrissy says, "Love the wolf pup." Me too. Like that was my favorite part, like listening to all that. And all of a sudden it's a wolf pup. I'm like, yay. So how
I
exciting.
had to write about 30 seconds past the timer going off so I could get the wolf up in there. I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be really unsatisfying if she just like squats down in front of a hole and
Yeah.
sticks her dinner on the ground. Like,
Right. It's so funny because when we first way back when started this, we were very diligent about like, time's up, put down your pen, stop typing. And now we're like, we just know the story's gonna be so much better. We just give me like 30 more seconds. Give me
yeah,
another
just
minute. We'll be
let me give you a wolf pup.
yes. Let me give you a wolf pup.
Like I had no
Exactly.
idea where she was going until she got there. Like that's just the nature of writing a sprint when your mind was
Exactly.
blank and you had no idea where you were going.
Right, exactly.
Literally.
All right, Tina, let's wrap this up today with our what's next. What's next for you?
Well, I am working on the next chapter in my work in progress, and I feel like it's going really well. I met with my writing group yesterday,
Mhm.
and you know how when you're a writer you just have crippling self-doubt. It's just part of who you
Yes.
are, and
Yes,
a little
unfortunately.
imposter syndrome, and you're just like, ugh. And then they gave me feedback, and two of them said, "Wow, wow, wow!" Like that was their exact words, and I was just like, "What?" So it was really good to hear their feedback and that they really liked what I wrote, and
Mhm.
they were also able to give me a little bit of ideas of some improvements, but for the most part, it was positive, and I feel like I have a great beginning that's going to hook the people if they look on the end and look inside. So
That's awesome.
feeling good about that.
So important
And
too.
just doing more of it this week. Just keep
Mhm.
working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, for me, my what's next is getting to a computer where I can access my my Photoshop and see what I have saved and what I don't have saved. Probably doing some computer shopping this week. And um also I'm going to polish up and finish up my blurb so that I can bring it to our live Q&A this week. And if people come with questions, then we'll do the questions. But this is going to be the backup. If people just come to do shenanigans, then maybe we'll talk about that. If it is not too late for you to join our Patreon and join us this Tuesday for our live Q&A, at the $5 for the shenanigans level, it's only $5 a month, and it gets you not only the live Q&A, but you get to be there's a Bible study we do once. Do we still do the Bible study? Once
No,
a month?
because nobody was coming to it. So
Okay. We're
if there's any interest, we'll restart it. But they're just
Yeah.
people are busy.
People are busy, and we're still developing what people we want to give you what you want on Patreon. But you also we have a Zoom writing room still.
Yes.
Yes, we still have that. So for $5 a month, you can get that. For $10 a month, you can be a super shenanigans and really help support this podcast. You get all of the other tiers, but also you get episodes of our old postcast, which is gold. Let me tell you, it's you need to watch
And
us have a
cringe
writing group.
gold too. It's just cringe.
Yes,
Like, oh my
absolutely.
gosh, I look terrible. I
Yeah,
had no
exactly.
speaking skills. Like
Right. Agreed. All right. Well, everyone, we thank you so much. Again, I cannot tell you enough how you need to go back and read today's conversation that
Absolutely.
happened in our live chat. Appreciate every single one of you that were here. Sorry that we couldn't feature all of them. But until next week, may your pen be prolific and may your deadlines be met. And may all of your words honor Christ. Bye, everyone.
Bye.